Welcome back to the Anger Man Podcast with Jason and Greg. So, Jay, I do want you and I to get together and talk about this. I don't even know why we're talking about this. I'm going to be honest with you, but we're going to go ahead and talk a little bit about it. So, there's a picture that's out there currently circulating with Errol, the Truth Spence, and he's sitting down with legendary fighter Roy Jones Jr. And I know that there's speculation possibly that, Errol may be working with Roy. We know that Jamal worked with Roy a little bit in the past, not someone that's going to replace Ronnie Shields or anything of that nature, but he did work with him to some degree in his off time. Now we know that Errol Spence needs a trainer. We know that Roy Jones trains. So is it possible that there's going to be a connection between Roy Jones and Errol Spence Jr.? Now there is a history between these two gentlemen. Roy has, in my opinion, has always been critical of Errol Spence. I thought it was unjust in his criticism. I thought that sometimes he was inconsistent in his criticism. He said that Errol hadn't fought anybody when comparing him to Terrence Crawford, while not also admitting that Terrence Crawford's resume was not all that great. He then said that once Errol got into the ring with somebody like Sean Porter, because he discounted what he did to my guy Kell Brook, he discounted that, right? He said Mikey was small. What he was going to find out about Errol Spence, or we would know the truth about the truth, was when he got into the ring with Sean Porter. And even though he beat Sean Porter, he still sung the same tune afterwards. So, of course, that created some animosity, some beef between Errol Spence and Roy Jones Jr. to some extent, because Errol had some choice words for Roy in the past. But now, we saw them sitting next to each other. Personally, I didn't think it meant anything. I just thought that maybe they were in the same spot. I didn't know where the picture was from or anything of that nature. But you did express to me that it's possible that, they could have been doing some work, getting some work in, considering that Maul got some work in with him. Now, Errol's looking for a new coach. I'm just going to go ahead and say it. Roy Jones would be the absolute worst choice he could absolutely make in his entire life. Roy makes absolutely no sense for Errol Spence Jr. in terms of his coach. None. I've heard people throw Calvin Ford name out there. Good choice. I've heard people throw Bozy Ennis name out there. Boots don't fight anything like Errol, but Bozy is very, very, very educated in the sport just based off what I can tell from what he says. So it's probably a good choice. You know who I would think would be a really good choice for him? Robert Garcia. Yeah, I think Robert Garcia would be an excellent choice for Errol. I just think stylistically he know how to work with that style, because Errol almost has like a Mexican type style, but it's kind of tweaked a bit. You know what I mean? In terms of how he actually approaches it. So I think Robert Garcia would make a really good choice for him. Roy's a terrible choice. An absolutely terrible choice. Roy's one of those guys that like, he's like Jordan, right? You have these attributes that no one will ever be able to replicate or duplicate. And because of that, you were able to do things in the ring that other people can't. So when I think about you teaching someone something, I find it challenging, because they won't be able to execute what you executed, because you're looking through the lens of your career and how you were able to execute these things. Not only that, I saw what happened to Roy when the athleticism declined. When the athleticism declined, you start to see the holes in the skill, right? So I love Roy. Hall of Famer, one of my favorite fighters, one of my top 3 favorite fighters. My top 3 favorite fighters are, in no particular order, Floyd Mayweather, Roy Jones, and you know me well. Who's my third?
Kell Brook.
And go kill yourself. James Toney is my third. James Toney is my third favorite fighter in history. So, yeah, Jay, those are my thoughts, man. What are yours?
Yeah, no, I agree with you as far as the sentiments on if Roy's being a bad fit for Spence. Spence isn't that type of fighter. Roy was athletic, so he could definitely give that wisdom. I'm not saying he couldn't install like other stuff, but we know where issue was his fundamentals. As you said, as athleticism went away, the fundamentals were exposed. That's how he was getting beat. he was a gifted athlete that was boxing. You know, he didn't have to really work on a lot of fundamentals. You know, he could change mentally, think how he's looking at the game and saying like, okay, that guy's flawed mentally, fundamentally, because I can see it because that's what I was missing in my game as well. So he can relate with that. But as far as style of Spence and Roy, it's like oil and water. This is not going together, you know. And now, let's say if it was flip, where it's like he got someone like Terrence Crawford in the fold, that's something a little bit closer because Bud is very athletic, and Bud does a lot of different things out in there. He's not kind of like you said, kind of like a mixing style type fighter, like the way Spence does with a little twing, little thing out on it for Spence. So I was thinking before you said it, Robert Garcia would be the one. You know, Calvin Ford, excellent coach. Um, Bozianis as well. You know, I don't know if this is going to come into anything other than Spence just being there and hanging out with Roy, getting a little work in. You know, because he is on the hunt for a new trainer. But I just don't see that fitting well for Spence. You know, could be wrong. You know, this could be the guy that Roy tries to go out and say, like, look, I'm not telling people to do what I did because I was different. I'm telling people I'm breaking down for people from the fundamental, from the ground for them. You know, I just don't know if Roy can do that because Roy was so gifted in that damn ring. He was so athletic and doing stuff that anyone else would get caught with, and anyone with less athleticism would get caught with, which happened to him as he got up
Exactly.
in age.
When he had less athleticism, he was getting caught.
Exactly. So he couldn't get away with that. You know, someone like a Floyd who's fundamentally very sound. Floyd wasn't doing stupid, crazy stuff like that. He was all about being taking advantage of what you're doing wrong in there. He was a technician in the ring. So I don't know if that'll help Roy out. Not saying, you know, Floyd being a technician, you saw how Floyd really didn't have any fighters like that on his staff in his fold. Really, he gave the young guys some tips here and there, but no one that he's like actually completely mentoring from box start to finish right now. You know, so I mean, but I don't think Roy would be a good fit for him. I like a Robert Garcia or a Calvin Ford for him.
Same. I like them for him, and I guess we'll be finding out exactly who his trainer is going to be very soon because I don't think the fight I don't think the fight is actually signed yet because just the way that Errol has talked about the fight so far, and the fight I'm talking about
Yeah,
is versus
Fundora.
Fundora. Yeah, it doesn't sound like that fight is actually a go yet. But I think the fight is going to actually. I think the fight is absolutely going to happen. So he's going to have to do something here very soon in terms of who his next trainer is going to be, and I would suspect we'll hear something soon. It'll be interesting to see who he picks and how that style meshes with him. But it's just my opinion that Roy Jones is not that guy. He's not that dude. So you guys tell us what you think. Roy Jones makes sense for Errol Spence in his corner? I don't think so. Is it just a situation where they were just getting in some work? Would it make sense for Errol to have Roy just join his staff, not necessarily as the lead trainer, but maybe as someone that's there that's been through the game that can give inspirational advice and things of that nature? That would probably make a lot of sense to me. Let us know what you think. Don't forget to hate, like, comment, and subscribe. This is the Anger Man Podcast, AM Sports Media, and we are out.